Study Section 6, Nigeria's Foreign Policy in the First Republic, 1960 to 1966. Introduction. The following study sections shall, in a chronological manner, analyze the style and conduct of Nigeria's foreign policy since independence in 1960. It will expose you to the conduct of Nigeria's foreign policy during the administration of Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa in the First Republic. Learning outcomes. When you have studied this study session, you should be able to 1. Discuss the basic feature and challenges of Nigeria's foreign policy under the administration of Balewa. 2. Point out achievements recorded by the regime in Nigeria's foreign policy administration. 3. Highlight achievements recorded by the regime in Nigeria's foreign policy administration. Features of Nigeria's foreign policy under Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. Prior to independence on 1st October 1960, it was not possible to talk about the Nigerian foreign policy because Nigeria as a state was not a recognized international entity. As a colonial subject, Nigeria's foreign policy was merely an extension of British foreign policy and was conducted by the British Colonial Office mainly in Britain's interests. The colonial legacy bequeathed to Nigeria at independence were a Westminster parliamentary system of government, administrative, economic, military, social and cultural systems similar to those operating in the United Kingdom. Some of these domestic structures influenced the determination and conduct of Nigeria's foreign policy in the First Republic. At independence, Nigeria's colonial history and orientation left her virtually within the orbit of the Western economic and political systems. An account of Nigeria's foreign policy cannot therefore ignore the colonial legacy left by the British. The foreign policy infrastructures which the Balewa government inherited were 1. A political and bureaucratic leadership steeped in British tradition and orientation. 2. An educated elite with a similar orientation and world outlook as the bureaucratic and political elite. 3. A military and police elite that share the same value, orientation, and interest. And 4. An economic structure that was firmly linked to Britain's interest. A result of the arbitrarily drawn territorial boundaries, which was a colonial legacy, was intermittent border dispute and crisis between Nigeria and her neighbors. In addition to the problems presented by Nigeria's colonial boundaries was the federal structure left behind by the British. The political structure imposed some constraints on the nation's ability to respond to various problems and led to cultural separateness and ethnic rivalry. The intense ethnic domestic politics which ensued reflected in the country's external relations of the regions maintaining different external relations independent of the federal government. These were the infrastructure foundations on which Nigeria's foreign policy was to build upon attainment of independence. Nigeria's foreign policy during the first civilian regime between 1960 and 1966 under Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa has been described as conservative and timid. The distinctive feature of Balewa's foreign policy was its pro-Western orientation characterized by close relations with Britain and countries of the Commonwealth Group. While the principle of non-alignment existed at the rhetorical level, the Balewa government was obviously pro-West and anti-East at the operational level in the Cold War ideological struggle. What was reasonably clear was that for the period 1960 to 1966, Nigeria was neither neutral nor non-aligned in the formulation and determination of her foreign policy. It was manifested in its belief that apartheid could be fought through diplomatic pressures in international institutions such as the United Nations and the Commonwealth. Apart from its economic relations with the industrialized countries of Western Europe and America, the country entered into a security agreement with her former colonial master. Britain called the Anglo-Nigerian Defense Pact. This pact was widely considered inconsistent with the country's non-aligned principle. The Nigerian Parliament ratified the Anglo-Nigerian Defense Pact in November 1960. The pact was, however, abrogated on 21st January 1962 against the backdrop of protest from university students, opposition parties, and progressive members of the Nigerian public. The pact substantiated Nigeria's undeclared culture of alignment with the West the age-old patron-client relationship with Britain. In addition, in the development of the Navy and the Air Force, Nigeria relied on Britain and West Germany, respectively, two members of the NATO alliance. Nigeria was bound economically and militarily to the West. On the other hand, the Nigerian government refused to open an embassy in Moscow and reluctantly allowed the Soviet Union to open its mission in Lagos, placed restrictions on travel to the Eastern Bloc countries and communist literature, rejected all forms of assistance from the Eastern Bloc, refused to recognize the People's Republic of China and Mongolia, banned Nigerians from traveling to socialist countries, and rejected aid agreements with communist countries, including Soviet scholarship for Nigerian students. The regime also maintained a low-key style of foreign policy. This can be explained by Balewa's low-profile personality. It preferred to operate within the consensus of the OAU, although this was not always so. For instance, in the case of Nigeria's termination of relations with France in 1961, in reaction to 3 French nuclear tests carried out in the Sahara, Nigeria acted alone. Secondly, there was very little or no publicity for Nigeria's initiatives, quiet diplomacy. Thirdly, no political mileage was made out of Nigeria's aid program. Nigeria's foreign policy under Abubakar Tafawa Balewa was at best reactive rather than proactive. Balewa's African policy left much to be desired. He entertained no revolutionary idea on African issues. This is understandable considering Balewa's conservative political background, the paucity of experienced career officers in the External Affairs Ministry, and the influence of the British government. Nigeria rejected the ideas of African political unity, an African military high command, and an African common market canvassed by Pan-African idealists like Kwame Nkrumah as unrealistic in the early 1960s. Rather, Balewa called for African cooperation, not African unity, arguing that African cooperation would be sufficient to promote understanding and reduce barriers among African states. The regime lost credibility in its approach to decolonization when Nigeria maintained relations with Southern Rhodesia and Portugal and permitted representatives of these countries to open offices in Lagos. It also countermined decisions of the OAU Council of Ministers, despite a full participation, that African states should break diplomatic relations with Britain over Ian Smith's unilateral declaration of independence of Southern Rhodesia in 1965. Commonwealth Prime Ministers' Conference held in Lagos in January 1966 was in fact used by Britain to diffuse African anger and hostility towards it over the Rhodesian saga. Paradoxically, the Nigerian civilian regime did not restate its foreign policy principles of self-determination, independence, and majority rule for all colonized peoples in the Rhodesian crisis. It did not impress upon Britain and the rest of the Commonwealth the issues of violation of individual liberties and freedoms, of the negation of the rule of law, and rejection of popular sovereignty in Rhodesia. Though Nigeria provided assistance in men and resources to the Congo, Zaire, Uganda, Tanzania, Malawi, Zambia, and Lesotho, and was supportive of OAU in respect of funding liberation movements, and also played key role in the establishment of the River Niger Commission, Lake Chad Basin Commission, etc., but no apparent political mileage was made out of all this. Its low-profile style was considered upsetting, particularly when foreigners began to perceive Africa and what Africa stood for only in terms of Ghana and its policy positions. Challenges of the era. The colonial legacy constricted the policy options of the immediate post-independence administration. Other factors that contributed to the low-profile foreign of the era includes the historically determined links with Britain, the relative poverty of the country at the time, the lack of experience in international affairs, the conservative outlook of the Prime Minister Tafawa Balewa and other members of his cabinet, and serious domestic divisions. The federal structure was so weak that the regions were relatively independent of the federal government in their foreign policy actions and actually opened different consulates abroad. Each of the regions had its embassy in London and also sent delegations abroad to seek for foreign investment. The Western Nigeria had a consulate in New York, while regional premiers expressed their opinions on foreign issues freely irrespective of the position of the federal government. Achievements of the era. Although the Balewa regime was generally conservative, it has its credit for a number of radical actions. In 1963, it broke diplomatic relations with France over the testing atomic weapons in the Sahara. In 1961, it defied Britain to champion the expulsion of apartheid South Africa from the Commonwealth. Balewa authorized the release of funds to Nelson Mandela when he visited Nigeria in 1962. It supported the creation of the OAU Liberation Committee and was one of the largest contributors to the fund. Study section summary. This study session exposed you to Nigeria's foreign policy under Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, a period when our foreign policy was largely characterized with pro-West and anti-East external relations, the non-aligned principle notwithstanding. This was clearly demonstrated in the Anglo-Nigerian defense part. The administration operated a very low-key foreign policy. The major challenge the era was the multiple conduct of foreign relations by the government of each of the federating regions independent of the federal government. However, the administration broke diplomatic relations with France over the testing of French atomic weapons in the Sahara, authorizing the release of funds to Nelson Mandela when he visited Nigeria in 1962, and in supporting the creation of the OAU Liberation Committee, and was one of the largest contributors to the fund. In this study session, this is the end of study section 6. Thanks for listening.